that Ehrman talked about an epiphany that he had. And basically the epiphany was this. Cockroaches cannot imagine that we as human beings are what we are. They can't imagine we can do the things we can do, that we can write poetry and music and send men to the moon, even when people don't believe we did, and have cell phones and smartphones and all that kind of stuff. And so but just because a cockroach cannot imagine mankind doesn't mean that mankind doesn't exist. It's just beyond the pay grade of the cockroach to understand that mankind as mankind exists, just like the cockroach doesn't know that cockroach kind exists. And so because of that, he said it's self-evident that there might be all sorts of levels of beings above us. And we just don't know about it and couldn't know about it the same way the cockroach can't understand that we exist. And so there might be all sorts of things that we would call deities, but levels of being above us that might exist. Now, I think there's a lot of problems with that because the difference between the cockroach and us is not the difference between us and something above us. We're talking about, believe me, a cockroach knows a human exists when I step on it. Okay, that is absolute evidence right then and there. But the cockroach ceases to exist and doesn't think on that level. In the first place, its brain is, But anyway, so you may have heard about some of that, so that it impacted, somehow that impacted his agnosticism, enhanced his agnosticism on some level, redefined his atheism on some level. The whole discussion of what is atheism, agnosticism, and all those epistemological questions. So in light of that, back in 2017, he is talking about Christmas. And this was the paragraph right before the last one. The image of God it conveys. Well, now this is basically, here are some of the things that Christmas embodies for him, the things in life that I think of as inherently good. All right. So this is the last one. The image of God it conveys. The God of Christmas is not a God of wrath, judgment, sin, punishment, or vengeance. He is a God of love who wants the best for people and gives of himself to bring peace, joy, and redemption. That's a great image of a divine being. This is not a God who is waiting for you to die so he can send you into eternal torment. It is a God who is concerned for you and your world, who wants to solve your problems, heal your wounds, remove your pain, bring you joy, peace, happiness, healing, and wholeness. Can't we keep that image with us all the time? Can't we affirm that view of ultimate reality 52 weeks of the year instead of just a few? Now again, hey, isn't that significantly better than trying to tell Christians they need to drink antifreeze on the basis of a textual variant? Well, yeah, obviously, Bart Ehrman is a much more thoughtful man along those lines. But you hear something like this, and I hope you see, upon hearing it, just how still very man-centered this is. Because this is not the image of the God of Christmas. The God of Christmas is not a God of wrath, judgment, sin, punishment, or vengeance. This is what happens when you have a secularized understanding of what Christmas is, the incarnation is, and not a biblical one. Because who is this one? I'll never forget. You were at NPBC when, well, I know you were there, but when, remember Ruby? Okay, the black soloist. She had just such a beautiful voice. And one, I don't remember. I think, yeah, it was the Christmas musical. And PBC was a big place. So did things big. I think we had horses once, didn't we? I do. No. They had more than horses. They had camels. And I'm just thinking maybe one year we tried to keep up with the Joneses. I really think we did, and I think Jackson hated it, but it still happened. Anyways, the point being that there was always a huge Easter cantata and a huge Christmas one. And, 250 voice choir, full orchestra, lighting. I mean, it was pretty cool. Oh yeah, 60-piece orchestra. It was huge. Yeah. I had to run sound for it. So just don't get me on those stories. Anyway, so there was a soloist named Ruby. There is at least one YouTube video I've found with Ruby Brown singing, and she was fantastic. She really, really was. I don't think she's around anymore. Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, she'd be. Anyway, but one of the songs that really struck me, and especially because I was involved in running sound and lights and stuff like that, and so we did something special. We put a cutout on this one light in the shape of a cross, and it was red. So one red light, and I never went up in the roof. No, I had not conquered my fear of heights. I might be able to do that now, but I probably not. It would still freak me out. But so up in the roof, in the ceiling there, we put this light and we focused it on the manger. And she sang a song called "The Shadow of the Cross." So you do remember that. Okay. And so when she's singing that song, this red cross appears, the light over the manger itself. And that had I just got goosebumps. That had great theology. Because what it's saying is this was the beginning. And it's so important because it speaks about who Jesus was. But this was the beginning of a whole story that had an end to it. And so what's one of the first things Jesus identified as? The Lamb of God. John the Baptist, behold the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. And so you can't come up with this image that separates. I've been saying this for decades, and people have made memes out of it and everything else, but that's because it's absolutely true. And that is, if you look at the cross and you do not see the depth of God's wrath against sin, you aren't seeing much of the cross at all. That's what makes it what it is. You're going to end up with a sentimental view of the cross if you do not see that it is first and foremost the means by which the triune God glorifies himself and remains absolutely just in all that he does. That's the only way that we can have redemption, is because of the fact that how can he deal with sinners like us? We know our hearts because of the cross, because of what the God-man does at that place. So that shadow over the manger means that from the start, that is exactly what God's intention was. I mean, there are certain forms of teaching that say that when Jesus was born, that if Israel had accepted him as their king, there would have been no cross. And I'm just like, no. That shadow of the cross was there. That was God's intention from the beginning. So he is a God of love. Yes. But the depth of his love requires justice. He is also the thrice holy God. Holy, holy, holy. You have to hold these together. And Bart Ehrman doesn't like the thrice holy God. He wants a God of love who wants the best for people. Well, the funny thing here is I wonder if when Bart Ehrman wrote this, if it didn't just cross his mind for a second, that one textual variant in Luke chapter 2. I mean, he knows about it. I know he knows about it. But did he think about it here? Peace on earth, what? Well, the King James says goodwill toward men. But that's textual variant. That doesn't have the genitive. And the genitive is goodwill toward men with whom he is pleased, or upon whom his favor rests. So that's a different meaning. And I would assume that Dr. Ehrman would take the genitive there rather than the Byzantine reading. It just struck me. Who wants the best for people and gives of himself to bring peace, joy, and redemption. Yeah, gives of himself, peace, joy, redemption. Why does he have to do that? Because a price has to be paid. Because there is wrath and there is judgment and there is sin. This is using words in a context where they lose all meaning. There's nothing left of it. That's a great image of a divine being. So what's a great image of a divine being? Let me emphasize it like I did when I first read it. This is not a God, not the God. This is not a God who is waiting for you to die so he can send you into eternal torment, as if that is even a semi-meaningful description. Instead, it is a God who is concerned for you and your world. Not he and his world. No, it's you and your world, who wants to solve your problems, heal your wounds, remove your pain, bring you joy, peace, happiness, healing, and wholeness. I'm sitting here going, did Joel Osteen break into Bart Ehrman's house? I could just see smiling Joel whacking old Bart over the head and going, and wow, of course, this is what an atheist wants, is a God that's all about you, not him, all about you. But man, does that sell, because that's what Joel Osteen's all about. And that's what the prosperity gospel's all about. It's you and more you. Wow. Yeah. So that was the paragraph right before the last paragraph. But it just struck me. It's just so illustrative of so many people go to, if I could just get you to talk to my friend. I'm sure if you did that he'd understand. And I'm like, don't you realize there are many unbelievers who know more than you do about the Christian faith, and they still reject it?